What is up, YouTube, and welcome back to another video. And today we'll be answering quite possibly the biggest question of all time. In fact, the most interesting question of all time. Could Abraham Lincoln survive one game of Dead by Daylight? Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves, held the Union together, but tonight he's got a bigger problem. Could the 16th president of the United States survive one game of Dead by Daylight, or is he getting tunneled straight back to the afterlife? Today, we'll be breaking down Lincoln's stats, his real-life survival skills, and whether honest Abraham Lincoln is looping the killer or getting hooked before the first generator pops, my guy. You might be asking yourself, what perks would Abraham Lincoln bring into battle? Or what items would Abraham Lincoln bring into battle? But we're going to hold those questions for later in the video. And the first thing we are going to cover is what killer would Abraham Lincoln face and what friends is he bringing into battle? So first, we have to see what killer will Lincoln be facing in his match. And according to the Dead by Daylight fandom wiki.com, there are 41 playable killers in DBD, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna roll a random number generator, and whatever it lands on is the killer that Lincoln will be facing. So anyway, here is our random number generator. As you can see, 1 through 41. I had to test it earlier with the 26 to see if it fucking worked. And I mean, let's just fucking roll. Let's see what we fucking get, right? So yeah, we're about to roll 1 through 41. What do we get? We get the number 22. That's like middle years of DBD. I don't even know who the fuck that could be. So without further ado, here is a picture of the killer that Abraham Lincoln will be facing tonight in his battle of rage and agony as he steps onto the DBD floor and wins his game, okay? This probably is not a good role for Abraham Lincoln whatsoever because twins are just fucking annoying. Who the fuck likes playing twins? So now that we know who the killer that Abraham Lincoln will be facing, we have to figure out what friends would Abraham Lincoln bring into battle on the Dead by Daylight field. So I have taken it upon myself to find 3 people related in some sort of way to Abraham Lincoln that he would bring on the Dead by Daylight field, starting with number 1, Ulysses S. Grant. Grant's relation to Lincoln is that Grant was Lincoln's top general and eventual Union deciding factor victory man, okay? This dude did a lot during the war, so I think he would bring that same vibe and energy into this Dead by Daylight match, okay? He would take chase. He's a fucking genius type of mind guy, okay? He's the type of energy where it'd be like, oh, I'll take chase, you guys do the gens, okay? I'll do the scary part, you guys get the game and clutch, you know what I'm saying, bro? He's that type of guy. Anyway, moving on to our next survivor, we have Frederick Douglass, the GOAT. Douglas's connection to Lincoln is that Douglas served as this kind of close advisor, right, for Lincoln with black unions and all that stuff, right? He's that guy. He is that dude. Y'all gotta understand, this dude is clutch, bro. He is clutch in the game. Straight support, though. He is not like a leader. Like, he's a support kind of guy. Douglas is calm under pressure, fearless, and purpose-driven. So obviously he has to have a spot on this team. And our last survivor is going to have to be Theodore Roosevelt. Lincoln was Roosevelt's biggest inspiration. Roosevelt openly admired, straight up glazed Lincoln throughout his legacy, bro. Roosevelt kind of serves as that middleman in this squad, right? He can do a little bit of everything, but I think he would be more of a primary looper like Grant. And he just wants to, for the thrill. You know what I'm saying? He's there for the fearless thrill of just being there because he's with the vibe. I mean, the man got shot and still finished his speech, bro. This dude is Himothy. Y'all have to understand, this dude is him, okay? He obviously deserves a spot on this squad. So to sum it all up, our survivor squad will have to be Lincoln, who is our team leader. He can do a little bit of everything. Definitely one of the greatest leaders America's ever had, ever. Ulysses S. Grant, who is our pressure kind of guy. He can soak a lot of pressure. He can take it down for you. He can do a lot of different things. Frederick Douglass, who is our moral support, our support factor, dude. He's in there just for the clutch gene, bro. Just for the freedom. He's in there. He wants to be there. And finally, we have Roosevelt, who is basically our chaser, right? He wants all that action, dude. He's a big body in the paint, bro. He's a big body in the paint. He wants all the action, dude. The killer's going to be on him, hopefully the entire game. Now that we know what Lincoln's survivor squad will be looking like, we now have to take a look at his stats, right? What perks will he bring? What items will he bring? We will be finding out in the next couple of seconds. So, moving on to Abraham Lincoln's perk build, here is a realistic depiction of what Abraham Lincoln would bring into a DBD deathmatch. The first perk I want to talk about is Leader. So, what Leader does is it buffs the speed of healing, gate unlocking, totems, and many other things, right? And I think this just fits Abraham Lincoln perfectly, right? Because he, automatically, by just existing, buffs everyone, right? Because he's that guy. He's that guy. The reason I picked Leader is it's more of like a presidential aura kind of pick, right? It just comes with the job. You know what I'm saying? You're a leader now since you're the president of the United States. So you have to run Leader when you get into the DBD deathmatch. Anyway, moving on to our next perk, we have Calm Spirit. Basically, if you don't know what Calm Spirit does, it's a perk. It's basically a stealth perk, right? There's no screaming, no crows, all that stuff. And the reason I picked this is because Abraham Lincoln just does not panic under pressure. As we have seen in the Civil War, you can't be panicked, okay? Abraham Lincoln led us through a war, no panic, ended with a victory. Like, he is that guy. He's clutch. And Calm Spirit gives him the time to think of a game plan, a strategy that will get all of them out safely, okay? Which is why I chose Calm Spirit. No panicking under pressure with Abraham Lincoln, dude. Anyway, moving on to the next perk I want to talk about, I would like to talk about Kindred. So basically, Kindred is an info perk, right? And obviously the leader needs info to make the plans, right? I mean, it's a straight lore pick. I mean, Kindred is kind of like that glue to the team, right? Kindred gives Abraham Lincoln the time, the information to make the game plans, okay? The clear communication keeps the Union together during the Civil War. I think Kindred will come in clutch with clear communication for keeping the 4 dudes alive in the DBD deathmatch. And finally, our last perk for Abraham Lincoln is going to be Adrenaline. The reason I chose Adrenaline is that it kind of represents that quiet aura comeback that Abraham Lincoln had during the Civil War, right? Adrenaline means that you are in the end game now, right? You've popped all the gens. You're ready to just absolutely just dust, get the fuck out of there, right? It's that feeling of finally being close to victory, right? That Abe had during the Civil War, which kind of represents here, right? That feeling of you are so close to winning the battle or the war that you can just kind of feel it. You can feel it out, feel out the dub. And I mean, of course, Adrenaline's just like an S tier perk, right? Everyone loves Adrenaline. It comes up clutch so many times. So why not just throw in Adrenaline? So now that we have covered the perks that Abraham Lincoln will be bringing into battle, I would also like to talk about the item and the offering that Abe Lincoln would bring into battle as well. So first, I would like to talk about Abraham Lincoln bringing in the Engineer's Toolbox. I think this explanation is pretty simple. The Union won the war, not solely won the war because of this, but partly won the war because of their superior industry, right? So of course the leader of the Union would be bringing the industry item. Anyway, moving on to our add-ons, we have a wire spool and a brand new part. I chose wire spool because it sort of symbolizes the economy, right? I mean, it makes toolboxes last longer so Abe can stick on gens longer. It gives him time to progress and think of game plans, the economy, the life of society, all that good stuff. And the reason I chose a brand new part is it's kind of like this momentum shift, right? If the game's looking like ass, if we're looking like trash, Abe Lincoln get on the gin, boom, pop the brand new part, boom, momentum shifts, right? It's kind of similar to like the Emancipation Proclamation if you really think about it, right? Because that was an insane momentum shifter. And now finally, for our stats, what would Abe Lincoln bring as his offering? I think he would bring the Bloody Party Streamers. This one makes the most sense if you really take time to look at it. During Abe Lincoln's presidency, he was always trying to hold the country together. Even during the war, his main goal wasn't necessarily to win or any of that. It was kind of just unity, right? Let's all come together. Let's all figure this shit out, right? So I think that Abe Lincoln would bring the Bloody Party Streamers as like the ultimate conclusion, right? Like he wants to maximize the unity and the prosperity of this DBD match. And I mean, yeah, this is our final build for Abraham Lincoln right here. If you guys disagree with anything, let me know in the comments, right? I would love to see your Abraham Lincoln builds as well. So now that we have our stats, our perks, our items all figured out for Abraham Lincoln, we now have to sort to talking about his survival skills. How would Abraham Lincoln deal on the battlefield? Would he fare well? Would he fare bad? Would he die instantly? We're going to find out. So the first point I would like to bring up in this section is Abraham Lincoln's elite mental fortitude, his attitude towards living and winning. As we all know, Lincoln led through the Civil War, which the Civil War was probably the most divided and chaotic period in U.S. history. In DBD terms, that's as if there was 3 people dead, there was either a 3-gen, the killer was camping, or the morale was at 0. It doesn't matter. Lincoln does not suffer. He does not tilt because of that mental fortitude that we have been talking about. Lincoln was known for his emotional control, his ability to be patient in times of extreme stress, and his ability to think long term, even if there was something that would lead him to thinking short term, right? In DBD terms, he plays for the win, right? He's not doing any like panic shit. He's going to play for that win condition and easily win. The next point I would like to bring up is Abraham Lincoln's strategic planning, or otherwise known as his leadership. Lincoln wasn't a battlefield general. He was a strategist. He understood time management, resource management, long-term planning, and positioning. In DBD terms, that's like breaking up 3-gens early, knowing when to sacrifice or trade hooks, and knowing when to let someone die to get the 3-man escape. This dude is always thinking, always strategizing, and that's why he's one of the GOATs. He's not a like flashy looper kind of guy, right? He doesn't have that ego for that, right? He's more of an IGL, he's more of an in-game leader, he's more of a team person. Anyway, moving on to the next point I would like to talk about is his physical attributes. People tend to forget that Lincoln was 6'4", an outdoorsman, physically strong, and a wrestler in his youth. So, in DBD terms, Abraham Lincoln would have strong palate presence, long strides, and endurance in chase. Abraham Lincoln is not built like Dwight. He's capable and has the build of holding his own in a sprint. The fourth point I would like to talk about is Abraham Lincoln's composure as a leader. Abraham Lincoln as president received death threats daily, was always publicly criticized for whatever he was doing, and always thought ahead of the assassination attempts before the one that actually succeeded. In DBD terms, that's like hearing the tear radius and not flinching, or when the killer is mind gaming a pallet, Lincoln does not overcommit, he does not struggle. Instead, Lincoln waits, he changes, and he adapts to the situation. The next point I would like to bring up is Lincoln's team-oriented leadership. Lincoln's greatest strength wasn't dominance, it was unity. Lincoln listened to his advisors, balanced strong personalities, and delegated effectively. In DBD terms, that's like smart hook rotations, no like selfish plays happening, right? No selfishness on the team. We're all team oriented. We all want to escape together. In the end, Lincoln plays to maximize that survival rate. He maximizes that team survival rate. There's no selfishness going on in our squad. The final point I would like to bring up is the advantage of having the industrial mindset. The Union won the war partly because of superior production and infrastructure. That's why the toolbox fits Lincoln perfectly. He knows when to pressure gens, he knows when to get on gens, okay? He's always about that. Because Lincoln knows if the generators are done, that gives less leverage to the killer. Anyway, now that we have talked about the pros of Lincoln and his survival skills on the DBD floor, let's move on to talking about his weaknesses. What holds Lincoln back from being a 100% escape? And really the only weakness I could find in Lincoln's game is the fact that he doesn't excel in one thing like his other teammates do. For example, let's say Lincoln is tunneled out really early in the game, right? He always relies on that composure and position to get him through, but he really doesn't have that like mechanical outplay that Teddy Roosevelt has, right? He doesn't have that game, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't have that game, the practice, the hours put in like Teddy Roosevelt has. Now, let's move on to our final point. What is Lincoln's looping ability? How will he loop the twins for the team to win? I think people underestimate Lincoln's looping ability. Back in his early life, he was known as the Rail Splinter because of his physical background. I think that matters. He's very well known around the wood. And with that being said, I think Lincoln's biggest strength when looping would be his patience. Lincoln doesn't just insta-drop pallets. He doesn't just greed for too long, right? He forces the killer to respect pallets and he knows when to hold W, okay? Lincoln plays for the long game, which shows his true value of being patient at pallets. The second point I would like to bring up is Abraham Lincoln's spatial awareness. As a self-taught surveyor in Lincoln's youth, he knows a little bit about mapping and spatial awareness. Translating that into DBD, it's like if Lincoln spawned in and knew the map they were on immediately. He knows when to connect loops with each other. He knows not to be dead zoned. This dude knows everything. He's not guessing, he's mapping. And the final point I would like to bring up is Lincoln's composure in times of stress. Most survivors lose a chase because they panic, right? They panic under pressure. Lincoln, he doesn't panic under pressure. There's no camera shakes. There's no emotional misplays happening, right? He is always composed. He's always ready for what's going to happen next, and that's scary for a killer. But the honest truth is that Lincoln probably isn't some competitive 360 tech, CJ tech spam fucking looper out here, right? He's just consistent and composed, okay? And sometimes consistency is better than flash, right? I mean, we know that people choke under pressure. You can at least guarantee that Abraham Lincoln will not be choking under pressure. Anyway, now that we have talked about the 3 skills that Lincoln will have in this DBD match, let's talk about the final verdict. Will Lincoln escape or will he not escape? Let's fucking find out. Lincoln could hold a nation together, but can he hold a win against the twins? If he was playing with friends, I think he really could. Yes, that's right. I believe Lincoln escapes, but only if everyone plays their part correctly. Grant, Roosevelt, Douglas, Lincoln, they all have to play at their top game to escape the twins. What I think would happen specifically is that Lincoln's team would get some momentum maybe during the mid game, and they'd carry that momentum all the way into the end game, okay? That momentum is going to be crazy for the squad, dude. Absolutely crazy, and that's when they fucking get out. So let me put the question on you guys. Do you guys think Abraham Lincoln could survive one game of Dead by Daylight? Let me know in the comments below. As I've said before, I think Lincoln can. He understands that he's not the best looper. He understands that he's not mechanically cracked at the game. But he understands the most important aspect of Dead by Daylight. Winning isn't about surviving alone, it's about surviving together. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Let me know what you think about Abraham Lincoln in Dead by Daylight, right? How would Abraham Lincoln fare in a DBD match? Let me know down in the comments. Also, let me know how you would make a DBD team for Abraham Lincoln, right? What perks would he use? What teams, what teammates would he have? What killer would he be facing? Let me know about all that down in the comments. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, man. I really think Abraham Lincoln could survive a DBD match. And he just has so much aura, you know. Shout out Abraham Lincoln, I guess.